Hello and welcome back to the channel. We have a brand new video for you today filled with Adobe Illustrator tips and tricks experts use daily. Now you may want to know more about certain tools and techniques mentioned here, so let us just know what caught your interest in the comments so that we can do special videos showing them off even further. But before we get too deep into this, if you are interested in getting an Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, don't be sure to check out the link in the description below. If you're going to watch these tips and tricks, hey, why not make sure that you're using the very same programs as well? Now on to the tips and the tricks. Now this tip seems pretty simple, maybe even a little obvious, but it's also incredibly useful and one that I don't see many people use, despite how helpful it is. Zooming in and out of a document can be a real pain. I mean, in the sense that it's actually an annoyance. It's not as bad as stepping on a Lego, but you might frown at your screen for 2 seconds. Another annoyance is that the navigator pane only lets you see the overview of the document that you're working on. It will zoom in on what you're zoomed in on, which isn't all that helpful in getting a sense of your overall design. So, what can you do? Well, much like Adobe Photoshop, you can open a second window of the same file that you're working on, turning it into a large document overview that updates in real time whenever you make changes. All you need to do is head to the Window menu in the Program toolbar and select New Window. Once you have this second window, drag it to another monitor or tile the image so that you have 2 views of the same document. Now this is an incredibly handy technique for illustrators and logo designers. You can view your overall work using one document while your initial window is used for the fine details. Well, it's type tip time. We're going to be taking a look at the Touch Type tool. Now say we want to move letters around in an image that we're working on. For example, you have some text and you want that text to follow the contour of the image. Your first impulse might be to make each letter a layer and then move them manually, right? Well, that's just extra layers and objects in what could already be a crowded canvas. However, the Touch Type tool lets us write a complete word and still move the letters around. It's going to change your life, I swear. So in this example, I want to move the O. So let's just see how this tool works. The Touch Type tool can be found in the General Type toolbar if you have Advanced toolbar enabled. To enable the Advanced toolbar, you must just go to the Windows options in the program and under Toolbars, enable Advanced with just a click of the mouse. Now you're looking for a tool icon that features the T for type, but it's bordered by a simplified bounding box. Now with the Touch Type tool selected, which also has a shortcut of Shift-T, I can select the O object in my words and then move it around. You'll also notice that the surrounding letters will move in reaction to the position of the O as well. I mean, wow. Now I could take individual letters and then move them around as I see fit without needing them to be individual objects. And this is such a great way to add some character to your text. Play around with it. I mean, it keeps your text in a single editable layer, but you have a ton of control over how you can position it within the layer. It opens up a huge array of options for design, but it also keeps things pretty tidy, which can be important when working with a ton of objects on the canvas. Offsetting a stroke, especially when dealing with characters on a text object, can often look messy. You often get many overlapping lines, rather than just a stroke that cleanly borders your assembled objects. If you don't use this technique, you might end up with something that might look a little like this. So this tip will help to clear up things while maintaining the ability to edit text. If you want a clean outline around your word that reacts to your changes, then you need to know this technique. It's best just to dive into this one. First, you need to have a collection of objects to develop these clean offset strokes. Text works great as an example. I never claimed to be mature here. Okay. Now, add a stroke to your text layer in the Appearance menu. I also changed the stroke size and fill color just to make things easier to see. Now, using Add New Effect, seen as the little FX icon at the bottom of the window, we're going to be doing an offset path. Eee, it looks kind of hideous though. If only the individual letter path didn't intersect so much. Oh wait, that's what we're here to fix. All we need to do is go to our Add Effects menu again and select Add from the Pathfinder option. Hey, and sure enough, it looks great. We can even maintain the style as we edit the word. Pretty neat, huh? Now, are you tired of seeing Myriad Pro as the default font when you open a text layer in your Adobe software? Look, it is the default font, and while you can easily switch fonts manually, well, maybe you have a font that you prefer, or one that makes for a good base for other work that you're doing. Myriad Pro is perfectly serviceable, but why not choose a font that you prefer whenever you need a new text layer? So we're going to go change our default font in Illustrator. First, we need to activate our Character Styles menu. Not Harry, style, character. Then, using the sandwich menu in the Character Styles window, we'll need to find Character Style options. Now, you have many options here, but what we're looking for is basic character formats. Here you can change everything from the default font to the font style, and even elements such as case and kerning. You can really customize your default to your liking. Grids are extremely useful in designing everything from prints to logos. Generating a grid from scratch at the scale that you want is a very helpful technique. To start, we'll need to create an object in the general size and shape of the grid area that you're looking for. I suggest setting it up with a transparent fill and a stroke color. Your grid will vary based on the object size and how many cells you put in it. With our object selected, we'll go to the Object menu of the toolbar, find the Path section, and then use the Split into Grid option. Here you can make the necessary adjustments, such as, well, how many rows and columns you want, and adjust the spacing in the gutters between the cells. And with that, you now have a lovely, even grid object, or whatever specialized grid you want to create. These can also be dimmed as objects, meaning that they can be partially transparent and make for a good template to work from for designs. Now, one thing that can be a pain about working in Illustrator is how often it defaults to a basic style for tools. For example, the pen tool will often reset to standard widths and settings, which can be a problem when trying to do repeated shapes with pen strokes, such as highlights for hair or similar things. Take, for example, this orange that I'm working on. Now, I like the pale orange stroke to make the reflection of light on the surface. I have a very specific thickness on the curve that I want to repeat again. Now, when I use the curvature pen to make another stroke, the pen properties reset. Now, especially when it comes to things like width. I end up losing that lovely tapered look. Thankfully, we can disable that default behavior pretty easily. In the sandwich menu of the appearance window, we must select the New Art has Basic Appearance option. This tells Illustrator to maintain the appearance settings of the last object that you selected. So now as I add highlights, they already carry the same width as the original highlight I did. And I get to keep my lovely little tapered line style. Usage of this tip may be more limited in use, but it is a great example of controlling the output of the program based on your needs as a designer. It's also something that you can easily reset as well. Just enable the New Art has Basic Appearance option. Paths can make designing a lot easier, especially with built-in shortcuts. And this could be our shortest tip yet, but it's incredibly helpful and quite intuitive too. For example, I want to take this larger end of this path and reverse the direction, having it go from thin to thick, top to bottom. By the way, thicker lines on the bottom are a composition trick to make an object appear to have more weight. But that's a subject for another time. Maybe even another video. Let me know if you're interested. Now, I could manually adjust the path width on each end. However, that's messy and time-consuming. Instead, I can just use the pen tool and click the anchor point of the end that I want to change. And that just ends up reversing the path. And I can do this as often as I want as well. A simple click flips the direction of the line style. Color in design is a topic beyond the scope of this video, but you can find some inspiration and surprising help through Adobe Illustrator. We're going to be using a tool called Recolor Artwork. Don't worry, you won't need to understand this. Illustrator has some fun color options built in. Your first step is to select your artwork and then head into the Edit menu in the toolbar. In that menu, you'll find Edit Colors. In that menu, you'll find Recolor Artwork, which is where all the fun is. There are many options here, especially as you enable an enhanced menu with a simple click. Now, this gives you so many options and presets, including complementary and analogous color schemes. Color theory is a topic for its own video, however, but you can pick up a trick or two by playing with some of the preset color combinations. However, One of the best uses for this feature is to take a design and make it more print friendly, such as using CMYK colors. You can even create limited color variants or take existing images and apply branding color schemes to them. Smart designers know when to repurpose elements of their designs for other projects. Recycling isn't just for the environment. One way to do this is to recognize patterns that you've made that can be used repeatedly. Let's say you have an arrangement of shapes that could make for a good pattern. Well, you can easily add them to the Patterns menu in Adobe Illustrator. And when I say easy, well, I mean it's as easy as drag and drop. All you need to do is select the shapes that will be part of your pattern and drag them from your canvas to the swatches palette. You can then drop your shapes into the pattern swatches and use them anytime. And I mean, that's it. You can apply that pattern to any object easily from here out. What more do you want? Huh?
You're still here?
We have one more tip. This one, though, is done. Look, our last tip takes advantage of the wonderful Pathfinder tool in creating shapes. Normally, we can cut a shape by taking two objects and creating a cutout from where they overlap, such as in the case of this moon. All I need to do is select my objects by shift-clicking them and then using the -front option on the Pathfinder window. I end up with a cool crescent moon. But my problem is that it makes it a single object. What if I still want to manipulate the other circle and move it around to change the look of the crescent moon? Well, it doesn't appear that I can. At least not the way we just did it. But there is a way to get your cutout shape and not wind up with a single layer. Simply hold the Alt key as you select the -front option. Now, when you look at the Layers palette, you'll see my crescent moon as two objects as one layer. And I can manipulate each object just by choosing the path that I want to work with. And now I can adjust my moon image easily. Not bad, right? And there you have it, friends. 10 tips used by Adobe Illustrator experts. Many of them may have only shaved seconds of time from the workflow of a project, but those seconds can add up for professional designers. Even better, many of these techniques are built into Illustrator and just need to be found. There is still a lot of stuff buried in this design software. But what tip did you find most interesting? Did you already know about them? Do you want to perhaps see more videos like this? Please let me know in the comments. And hey, before you go, please be sure to go and like and subscribe. If you hit that notification bell, it'll also be updated whenever we have a brand new video that's out. We thank you so much for your time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.